Hello again guys, and welcome back to another Big Out Devlin video and the madness of the gods. This is going to be a quick video introducing you into some of the quirkiness of some of the wackiest gods of all time, the Norse pantheon. And today we're going to start with the mighty Thor. Yes, that's how you should say his name, for he is the god of thunder. And as we all know, thunder is very, very loud. And quite appropriately, Thor was very loud in his own personality, a very boisterous, very manly god, enjoying nothing more than crushing the skulls of giants, eating and drinking. But hey, who doesn't? But before we move on, there's something wrong with this picture in front of you, so let's fix it. Finally! I know we're not as sexy or as cool as blondes, guys, but gingers like to have fun too. And Thor was as ginger as they come, with long, thick, red locks of hair and a big, bushy, red beard. Ginger hate is real, bro! But where did Thor come from? Well, don't worry, guys, I'm not going to give you a lecture on the birds and the bees. No, what was his parentage? Well, first of all, as most of you know, he was the son of Odin. You know what, I don't actually know what wisdom and knowledge sounds like. You know, thunder is like Thor. But wisdom, knowledge, I don't know. Odin? Anyway. And before any of you think, no, Odin is not being flirty with you. He doesn't like you. He's not winking at you guys. He ripped his eyeball out for knowledge. That's dedication for you. In fact, actually, it's easy to see now where that total badassery of Thor comes from. It really runs in the blood. And actually, speaking of blood, Thor is actually a three-quarter giant. And I get it, right? Some of you guys are going to be like, what? How is that? How can he be 3/4 giant and only 1/4 Asia? Well, you know, especially when, you know, Frigg is his mother. Guys, those of you that said that, stop reading Marvel comic books and thinking it's fact. No, Thor's mother was not Frigg. I mean, friggin' hell. I mean, just pick up a book that doesn't have pictures in it for a change. Instead, Thor was in fact the product of an affair that Odin had with a giantess called Jard. And when I say that Jard was a giantess, I mean she was 100% giant. Zero drop of Asia blood in her bloodline. And when you look at Odin, Odin himself was in fact half giant also. So hence, Thor was 3/4 giant and 1/4 Asia. Math! But this video isn't about Thor's parents, it's about the god himself. So what made him super cool? Oh, hang on a minute, something wrong with this photo again. Ah, that's better. So what made Thor really cool? Well, first of all, he was the protector and guardian of Midgard. That to you and me is the place we're living, Earth itself. He protected us against all the nasty, especially Jormungandr himself, the great world serpent. And his vibe to kind of protect us, if you wish, probably came from the fact that his mother, Jard, was actually not just an Earth goddess, but Mother Earth herself. Oh, proper little mummy's boy. But how did he protect Midgard? Well, didn't I mention earlier that one of his favourite hobbies was crushing the skulls of giants? Well, if desire itself is not enough, well, he was also the strongest of the gods, physically beyond anyone else who lived amongst the pantheon. And his strength was only further enhanced by the fact that he always wore a pair of gloves and a belt. Yeah, Magic Mike comes to mind? No, don't worry guys, he wore other things as well, but the gloves and the belt were enchanted. His belt made him twice as strong as he otherwise would be, and he was strong anyway, so this made him like super strong. And the gloves that he wore allowed him to wield his mighty and very, very famous hammer, Mjolnir. Now, Mjolnir was no ordinary hammer. It was forged by the dwarfs and was one of the finest creations to have ever been possessed by the gods. Its literal translation translates roughly into the Crusher, and it had the power to crush mountains itself. So, you know, crushing giant skulls, not so hard compared to a mountain. But here's one really fun fact, something that Marvel actually got correct. The hammer, when presented to Thor by Brokir, actually works like a boomerang. That's right, Thor could throw his hammer at anything or anyone he wanted to destroy, and no matter how hard he threw it, it would always return to him. So, like, serious question here, wouldn't Mjolnir be better known as, like, Boomerinya, or even Mjolnirang? Yeah, that's an idea. But then, in all seriousness, guys, let's look at what else Thor had that was super cool. He also had a pair of goats. You know what? Let's get this right. I like the ginger theme. Okay, so let's get this one again. A pair of goats. These weren't any normal pair of goats. They were oversized and grand in strength, just like Thor himself. Yes, I suppose in modern day terms we could describe them as thug life goats. These goats, in fact, were so strong and so aggressive, they acted as perfect mounts to drawing Thor's personal chariot. I can only really imagine what the 0 to 60 speed was, but nonetheless, a pair of goats pulling a chariot, to be honest, I think I would be more scared of that than a chariot pulled by horses, because whoever's on top of that can seriously handle themselves and has a screw loose. But the goats themselves were very much like the gloves and the bells of Thor. They were themselves enchanted. And Tangnios and Tangrisnia, yes, that's were the goats' names, were essentially enchanted into walking lunchboxes. And so they were actually enchanted so that they could be killed and eaten by Thor, and would regenerate fully overnight so long as Thor left their bones undamaged. Perhaps our first ever recorded example of meals on wheels. Or I suppose more accurately, meals pulling wheels. And if the goats can remember being killed and eaten every night of every day, then perhaps we also have the first recorded example of goat PTSD. But in all honesty, Thor was adored and loved by the people of Midgard. He was their protector and truly a benevolent god to mankind. So much so that he was also responsible for the blessings of weddings. That's right, these days we get married by Elvis in Las Vegas. But in Viking times, it wasn't unheard of to be married by Thors. And just in case you guys actually took that comment as serious, no, it was a joke, it was a metaphor. But what isn't a metaphor is Thor actually being, in some ways, a man of the cloth. Just not in a religious sense. Instead, it was more of the cross-dressing sense. And I know what you're thinking, guys, looking at the screen right now. No, I have not forgotten to colour Thor's hair red. He was actually blonde when he cross-dressed. Oh, you mean that isn't Thor cross-dressed? No, of course it is. Just use your imagination, guys. I mean, of course, you've seen just how good my photoshopping skills are, guys. I could have put him in a wedding dress, but, you know, sometimes it's better just to leave it up to the imagination and let your minds flourish. So, in short, the story of Thor cross-dressing wasn't one of, you know, like a hobby or anything like that. He did it for a particular reason. And that reason is, his hammer, Mjolnir, was stolen by a giant called Thrymnir. Well, you know, you can imagine Thor was pretty lost with that and demanded his hammer back. And Thrymnir said, no, this is my hammer now. Go find your own. Although, I will make a trade. And so he demanded the goddess Freya as payment for the hammer. Well, Thor went to Freya, and you can imagine what Freya said. Pretty much slapped him in the face and told him to, you know, beep off. So instead, Thor thought, well, he wants a bride. He's never seen Freya before. He doesn't actually know what she looks like. So, you know what? I'll dress up as a bride myself, and hopefully he doesn't notice the beard. And I'll take Loki with me as a bridesmaid, because he's always up for a good laugh, right? And that's exactly what they did. Thor and Loki went to Jotunheimr for the wedding, and Thor, despite being probably quite poorly dressed, as I say, please ignore the beard, didn't really help himself either, and at the wedding feast decided, as the bride, bear in mind, to eat an entire oxen by himself. However, Freemium must have been a feeder, because he really was into it and was just like so enamoured by who he thought was Freya, but was in fact Thor in a dress and a beard, and decided that this was all good and handed over the dowry to who he thought was Freya, but ended up being Thor. Now Thor suddenly revealed himself and did what he did best. Took his hammer and killed and destroyed every single giant within sight. Yeah, Game of Thrones with the red wedding. Yeah, okay, yeah, nothing on Thor. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and that's it for today. There's plenty more stories to tell about Thor, as he truly is a mighty and benevolent god to mankind. We really do owe him a lot. And in fact we will owe him even more, as during Ragnarok it is he who kills Jormungandr, the world serpent, after it poisons and destroys the skies of Midgard. But in doing so he gives his own life, dying from the poisons from the fangs of the serpent shortly after he crushes its skull. Anyway guys, I'm going to leave the video with one last fact, and that is that the day of Thursday, that's the day after Wednesday and the day before Friday, is named after Thor himself. Thor's Day, Thursday, you kind of see the link, right? And so I really do endeavour to sort of encourage you guys to show respect to Thor on that day. As I say, he is a truly brilliant god, and I hope you go out and learn more about him. And if you want to learn more about him on my channel, I do have more serious videos on here, not ones that are done tongue-in-cheek, and which I will be expanding and adding to. And if you want to learn about the other gods also, and just about paganism in general, please feel free to go through my playlists and you'll find all my videos collected there together. In the meantime guys, ta-ta, thank you and goodbye.